Before we begin, I would like to address some things so you understand the structure of the video and how different viewers should interact with it. Today, I will show you how I won a competition and got rewarded by doing so as a 14-year-old boy living in Greece. I will share with you the process of making such a big project, and I will go into some technical details on how I and my team managed to surpass some challenging situations that took place in the process of finishing the game. The video will contain some technical aspects from some parts of the game creation that, although I will do my best to explain, if you find them hard to understand or not interesting, you could speed up the video to double the speed for you to go to the next part. I will also include chapters in the video so you can look at what every part is about. Thank you. 1 week ago the results were announced and I realized that I had just won the first prize in a national competition with the reward of 1,500 euros. Or at least kind of. This is the story of how I made the game and won 1,500 euros as a 14-year-old. Enjoy. Before we talk about how I made the game and about the reward, I think we need to go back to the beginning of the year 2021. I was having a normal day at my school until one of my teachers entered my class and asked if there were any students that had some knowledge about Unity 3D or about 3D modeling in general. Since nobody had any idea about those things, I decided that I might be helpful since I had little experience with Unity 2D and a lot of experience with coding in particular. At the school break, we went into an office and she explained to me that recently she wanted our school to participate in a competition that the team who made the best game would win. After that, she told me about the game idea that she had in mind. When I heard it, I knew it would be hard, but I still wanted to try. The game idea seemed simple. Find the broken axes and the maps, answer the questions to get them into your inventory, and also get some money. After you get all of them, you can progress to the second level. At that point, we were not so sure about what the second level would be, but it turned out as the hardest part of the whole game. I was very inspired and wanted to start working on the game to learn new things and touch on a field I had not really worked on before. So, when I came back home, I opened my computer and created a new 3D scene in Unity. I wanted to start working on the project so much that I did not watch any tutorials to understand how the UI worked, and I just started searching very specific things I wanted on my browser. But after I worked on the game for about 3 hours, I realized I had done minimal to no progress, so I just deleted the whole thing and went to bed. For the next couple of days, I was watching some tutorials to learn mostly about the UI because I already knew C#, which is the programming language Unity uses. Although C# has been changed a bit inside of Unity, I had no problem learning it. After a couple of days, I was feeling very confident with the knowledge I had gained, and I created a new Unity 3D scene. Before I started working on anything, I asked my teacher to send me the game idea in Teams, which was the place we attended all of the online classes in school. After I had everything, I began by creating a new board in Trello.com to store there everything I had to do for the game in simple words. I began by figuring out how to create a first-person player movement. I started out by working on the camera and making sure that whenever I moved my cursor, the camera would move too. I figured out that when I moved my mouse vertically, which means up and down, the camera should be the one moving. That is not the case when you move the camera horizontally, because the camera is an object inside the player, which is known as the child, which is the camera that is inside the parent, that in this case is the player. The player should be the one moving, resulting in the camera moving as well. We don't do the same in the y-axis because the player would move upwards as well as the camera, and then if we try to move forward, the player would move upwards and not forward as we originally wanted. This was a hard process for someone like me who had very little experience with how Unity worked, but I finally managed to get it done. Then I had to create the actual movement. Thankfully, this was easier since the only thing I had to do was get the input from the x and y axis and then multiplied by the variable that I had previously named speed. Of course, I added some more variables here and there to make the player movement better, like making the camera and movement smoother and also adding some running mechanics. Then I tried to work on the broken axis, but I had problems with the collision and little time left, so I decided that I had made some progress for one day and just left it there. After a couple of days had passed, I decided to finally find out what went wrong with the collision system I had made for the broken axis. The problem was not that what I had made was not working at all, but it seemed that the collision was getting triggered only sometimes. So, after hours of research and no results, I decided to join a Discord server to try and get some help. And it actually worked. After joining the Brachis Discord server, I immediately got some help by a member who told me that I should not use the onCollisionEnter function and use the onTriggerEnter function instead. This was a very simple thing I had to change that probably took me a minute to complete. And after running the game once more, everything started working. From there, I created 3 buttons that one was the correct and the other 2 were wrong. For the correct one, I created a script that basically said that if this button was pressed, I wanted the axe to appear in the inventory, get some money, and some text to appear to the screen that said something in the context of "this is the correct answer." For the wrong one, I created a variable that contained integer numbers and set it to 2. By pressing one wrong answer, the variable would go to 1, and by pressing it another one, the variable would go to 0. Then I created an if statement which read the value of the variable, and if it was 0, then a button would appear that by pressing on it the game would restart. I followed the same algorithm for the maps that were spread across the map, and by picking one up you would get some pieces of the real map. After getting all of the maps, the real map would have been complete with all of its pieces back. Of course, I also added some more things to this rather simple system to make it work a bit better. For example, I made every action map appear after the previous one. This way you would only be able to get the last piece of the map that would also get you to the second level after you had got all of the previous ones. Although I made the map before actually creating all of the axes and maps, I decided that this is the best place in the video to tell you about it. I'm not the best artist and I don't have lots of ideas for art, or in this case for the map creation, So I began by finding an already made map that was free in the Unity Asset Store that I will leave down in the description. After that I started making small changes to the map and also made some houses to put the axes and the maps. Of course, to do that I also used the Unity Asset Store and got help from people that were in my team and knew some more things about 3D design. Finishing with all that, I did some small changes to the lighting and I added some pictures into the house and other objects like tables and beds. Finally, I found a spot to put the maps and axes for the player to find. After I finished with all that, I was really happy because I had my doubts at the beginning, knowing that my skills were not the best at 3D object creation. But it turned out that creating the map was a fun process that gave me some knowledge as well. As you can imagine, we were working on this game when we had school and my teachers had to teach their lessons, but somehow our team managed to work very efficient. This is because my teachers wanted to help and we attended meetings every now and then so they could see our progress, and because they were the ones knowing all about the historical aspect, they were telling us to change some small things to fit the whole story of the game better. For everyone who is thinking to start working on a big project, I would encourage you to think how you will manage your time to get some work done, but also not burn out. After you get all of the axes and maps, you will see a button that asks you to go to the second level. But before I can begin working on anything, I first needed to understand what the idea for it would be. So I hosted a meeting with my teachers and they told me all about it. First of all, you would have to get a flag by answering a question and then finding and get a bat without waking up the lion. After you do all those things, you would have to get into a fight with a mythical creature called the Amazona. If you won the battle, you would have to place the flag and bat down to the ground. Finally, the player should go and wake up the lion, which represents the awakening of the Greek nation in order to start the revolution against the Turkish domination. All of those things sounded very difficult and I had a small period of time to finish it. That didn't discourage me since I had found a way to make my code a lot easier to read and in general create a smoother work environment, so I could focus more on creating the actual game than trying to find out where I had put a certain script or object. It was finally time to begin building the level. I started with the map that I will leave a link down in the description, and I did not change much since there was not much time left. Then one of my team members drew the flag and sent it to me to add into the game. I believe that it looks awesome considering the little time we had left. So I added the questions on the flag and bat and also gave some light to the place that the bat was standing to make it look a bit better. After finishing with that, I made a script that would basically take the bat, make it a child of the player and adjust its position. Finally, I found an asset in Xamo that looked like I wanted, so I took it and said that it would be the Amazona. I also added some animations to make her feel a bit more alive. Of course, those animations could have been a lot better, but with a limited time I focused more on finishing the game. Then I added a health bar to the Amazona that every time the bat touches her she will lose health. To do that, I created a variable called health and set it equal to 10. 10 also represents the times that you have to hit Amazona for her to die. Then I created a function that decreases the bar scale and a bar scale stopper function to stop decreasing the value of the variable and the scale of the bar. After that, on the onTrigger method, I decrease the variable by 1 every time the bat hits the Amazona, and also the change the size method. And then I made an if statement that checks the value of the health variable, and if it is 0, it will call the stop the size function and also play the animation of the Amazona falling to the ground. After finishing with the Amazona, the player should press Q for an image to pop up. That means that we placed the bat to the flag. I had no problem, of course, creating an animation of the player leaving the flag and bat down, but my teachers told me that this image was important, so we went with that. To finish the game, you have to go and wake up the lion, which means going close to it. I did that just by placing 2 colliders. The first one was the one that the lion would wake up and eat you, that will get destroyed after you press the Q, and the second collider will appear, that will be the one enabling you to wake up the lion. Finally, one of my team members made an introduction video that was really well made, but finishing the game was not just it. After the game was finally over, a tech person working in my school saw the game to tell me what he thought of it. To my surprise, he really liked it, so we didn't have to change anything. After we had the approval, we sent the game to the place where the institution would evaluate and rate our game. We had to send the files, the music, the assets, and everything we used for the creation of the game. So that's it. Now we just have to wait and see the results. We had to wait a month for the results to finally come out, and as the time passed, the stress became more noticeable. The day had come. We went to the institution website to see the results. There were a couple of categories like VR that we had to skip to see the results of the 3D game category. When we finally got there, the name of my school was at the top of the list. My excitement was unmeasurable, and I was so happy to see that our hard work had paid off. My school had just won the prize of $1,500 to use on school equipment, and although I would be happy to receive this amount myself, I believe that my school will do a very good job spending this amount to make our school a better place. Hello friends, so if you watched the video till the end, I just want to say a very big thanks for supporting me with the YouTube algorithm. If you want to help me even more, you could subscribe and like this video, especially if you like this documentary kind of style video that you just saw. I put in a lot of time and effort into making this video, and I will keep uploading videos like this one in the future. So, if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe. Also, I have a Twitter account, a new Twitter account that you can follow me over here or down in the description. I highly encourage you to go and follow me there because I will upload daily and I don't think that you want to miss that out. So, that's it from me and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!